a beautiful butterfly fluttering gently around from place to place. We ooh and we ah, colourful and graceful. But where do butterflies come from? A caterpillar, a fuzzy worm with lots of legs, not ooh and ah, but ew and yuck. And to become a butterfly, the caterpillar makes an amazing change, weaving a cocoon around itself and dying, and then breaks out from the cocoon as a new creature, a colourful butterfly, alive and free. And if you see a butterfly depicted in a church, and I notice Pastor Matt has a butterfly on a stole, that is a symbol of the resurrection of Jesus. Jesus, in his death, is wrapped in a shroud and placed in a grave, but at Easter bursts out of his cocoon as a beautiful butterfly. This day of Jesus' transfiguration is a day of the beautiful. The appearance of his face changed, his clothes become dazzling white. And we can imagine Peter, James and John saying, ooh and ah. Peter, James and John loved the feeling of being on the mountaintop in the company of Jesus, an experience they wanted to keep, to bottle, to frame, or whatever you need to do to capture and hold on to this moment. How much better can it get than to be in the presence of one whose very words you hang off of? And the way to get there? To the mountaintop, to the company of Jesus, to a feeling that we want to bottle and hold. Well, being the Sunday before Lent begins on Ash Wednesday, the 40 days which lead us to the great celebration of Easter and Jesus' resurrection, the days of Lent lead us through Jesus' suffering and his trial and his death. And like the story of the butterfly suggests, resurrection comes through death. As we approach the 40 days of Lent, it's clear the only way for Jesus to get through to resurrection is through suffering and death. So this day of transfiguration is a sort of showing the goal. This is where we are going to. It is an experience we want to keep and hold. But alas, the way we get there is for Jesus through suffering and death. And if I'm not wrong, our intuition tells us the way to achieve a goal is by self-betterment. You achieve your goals step by step. There are any number of examples. A school child with a pile of homework just has to put in the hours. The person who wants to learn to play the piano has to keep practicing. Self-betterment. But in the economy of God, it's about receiving everything as a gift. Not by doing our best, not by living a respectable life, but receiving everything as God's gift. The organisation that I work for, Lutheran Services, serves people like the ageing, the disabled, victims of domestic violence and people in hospital. And I have to say, on the whole, very few people in this category probably are going through an experience they want to hold or to frame or to bottle hold on to. Not that there aren't moments of deep joy that can be found there too. There are. But on the whole, these are not places we aspire to be. And Lutheran Services lives and acts by doing our best, for sure. We slavishly follow government regulations, but we also serve with a kindness that sees everyone as somewhere on this spectrum between caterpillar and butterfly. Sometimes we see more caterpillar than butterfly, and sometimes we see more butterfly. And I'm not only talking about the clients, also talking about the staff and the organisation itself. Today's celebration of Jesus' Transfiguration offers a sense of where we might want to be, a feeling we might aspire to. Peter, James and John were on cloud 9, and Moses and Elijah, the big names from the Old Testament as well, if only for a moment, and they try to keep their experience, but in the blink of an eye the magic's gone. Many of us are impressed by great events, by wonderful deeds, by countless wealth, by limitless power. But we also in our lives painfully discover that we are not kings or lords or stars or beautiful butterflies. On Easter, Jesus will burst out of his cocoon, and that is the promise that all Christians live by. That's the reason that all of us as individuals and collectively, and may I also use that word even institutionally, Jesus bursting out of his cocoon is the reason that we can all act with kindness. All of us as individuals or as part of an organisation, all of us as people of faith or simply people of goodwill can reach out to friends and neighbours, strangers who are dealing with disillusion and despair. We can befriend the lonely and the forgotten, the injured and the weak. We can feed the homeless and the hungry. We can care for those who are in hospital. We can care for the aged, the disabled, the domestic violence victims. We flutter around like butterflies, transformed by God's grace. Amen.